Hello everyone, I'm Lakshmi and today I'll be going to talk about bioremediation. So, in this topic, we're going to learn about what is bioremediation, why we should study bioremediation, types of bioremediation, how bacteria helps in bioremediation, in situ and ex situ bioremediation, biostimulation and bioaugmentation terms. So, let's proceed with our topic. Now, what is bioremediation? Let's break this word bio and remediation. Bio means any biological material like living organism, and remediation simply stands for any remedial measure or treatment, right? So, removal of any contaminants like any chemical or any toxic chemical product or substance or pollutant from the environment by using any biological entity is simply known as bioremediation. Now, what kind of pollutants? Pollutants like heavy metals, radioactive pollutants, explosives, herbicides, pesticides, etc., which causes harm to our nature. To treat these pollutants, we use some biological entity like living organisms, bacteria, fungi, plants, or algae. Now, why there is a need to study bioremediation? See, nowadays we face a major problem called pollution, right? And why the pollution is being generated? Because of industrialization and urbanization. And because of this, environmental issues been emerging like global warming, acid rain, loss of microbial function in the soil, and also fertility of soil is being depleted day by day, and much more reasons. See, nowadays we do have some waste disposal techniques like incineration, landfills, recycling, etc., but they are limited or they have some limitations because when we incinerate a waste product, there is a release of large amount of toxic gases like carbon monoxide, methane, etc., which will ultimately cause climate change, which will lead to global warming, right? And also, dumping of toxic waste like polythene, etc., will create a great threat to our soil community or microbial community, and because microorganisms play a very important role in ecological processes, like they play a very important role in biogeochemical cycles like carbon cycle, sulfur cycle, etc. Thus, we need an alternative method for our bioremediation. So, we can simply say that bioremediation is a kind of waste management method, right? And we are using bioremediation because it is eco-friendly and cost-effective also. Now, types of bioremediation on the basis of living organism we use. When we use fungi, we'll simply call it as a microremediation. Using of plants, we'll call it as a phytoremediation. And if we use algae to treat pollutants, then it is phycoremediation. See, bioremediation is a common term for all this. Even though it is microremediation, phytoremediation, or a phycoremediation, these all are types of bioremediation only. But for bacteria, we will only call it as a bioremediation, and because there is no such term as bacterial bioremediation. Okay, so just don't confuse in this. Now, examples of organisms we use in bioremediation. So there is a list. Pseudomonas butida is a bacteria we use to treat aromatic hydrocarbon like compounds to toluene, naphthalene, etc. Aspergillus is a fungi which will help in treating phenols, cadmium, nickel like compounds. Allium species, that is our onion, which will help in removing industrial effluent pollutants, and there are many more. Now, how bacteria helps in bioremediation? There should be some mechanism, right, to remediate our these pollutants. So now let's see this is our bacteria. Okay, let's just consider this is our bacteria with the flagellum. Let's consider this A as our any heavy metal. Okay, this pink color, it represents a metal binding protein. Okay, this heavy metal will bind to this metal binding protein receptor, and this mechanism is called as biosorption. Then if there are more metal binding protein receptors, then more metals will bind to these receptors, and thus it will increase the rate of degradation. Okay. Second mechanism is by bioaccumulation. What is bioaccumulation? Is that this any heavy metal will be taken by bacteria and it will get retained in bacteria only, then it is termed as bioaccumulation. But sometimes bacteria may detoxify this metal. Third one is biomineralization. In this, any metal will be reacted with any hydrogen sulfide and gets converted to any sulfurous compound, and this is termed as biomineralization. In biotransformation, what happens? Any metallic compound will be transformed into other compound by enzymatic degradation or enzymatic reduction, because we know that bacteria produces some enzymes. The next one is bioleaching, and also there is a mechanism called precipitation. In precipitation, what happens is, we know that bacteria produces enzymes, so these enzymes and heavy metal will get reacted to each other and produces some oxidative molecules or reduced or reductive molecules, and this will lead to the precipitation. So this is one of the mechanism or process. So different bacteria will use different processes to remediate, or let's say in bioremediation process. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, so let's proceed further. We'll see now what is in situ and ex situ bioremediation. In situ and ex situ bioremediation are type of bioremediation only. In situ bioremediation, the treatment is provided at the contamination site only, at the polluted site only, and generally we use indigenous organisms for the treatment. Why indigenous organisms? Because indigenous organisms are the organisms which are already present over that particular site. They are inhabitant to that particular site. So, because they are inhabitant to that nature, they are already adapted to that environment. So, it's easy for us to degrade, to increase the rate of degradation of that material or that pollutant is comparatively easy by these indigenous organisms because they are already adapted. But sometimes, let's say, if indigenous organisms may have the slower metabolic rate, so in that case we'll have to modify these organisms. So when we modify organism, we say genetically modified organisms. So if we modify these, then GMOs we will culture at our lab, and then we'll put those into the treatment site. And also we can add exogenous organisms also, and exogenous organisms are we provide outside organisms or introduce some outside strains in that into that site. Okay, so since there is no transportation or something expensive is included in this method, it is simple. And mechanisms by which in situ bioremediation carried out is biostimulation and bioaugmentation, and there are many more. So let's see what is ex situ bioremediation now. In ex situ bioremediation, the treatment is given away from that polluted site. Consider an example. Let's say there is some underground water which is polluted already, and now we need to pull off that water, or say pull excavate the soil if the soil is polluted. So these are taken to the treatment site. So here transportation is required. So comparatively it is more expensive than in situ bioremediation, and the mechanisms involved by which we carry our ex situ bioremediation are slurry phase separation, in which bioreactors are used, and solid phase separation, in which techniques like land farming composting is done. Now let's see what is biostimulation. Addition of rate limiting nutrients like phosphorus, nitrogen, oxygen, electron donors to severely polluted sites to stimulate the existing bacteria to degrade the hazardous and toxic contaminants is known as biostimulation. Let's see the explanation. We learn with the help of an example. Okay, so here you see the first picture. In this golden yellow color, let's say they are contaminants, and these green and pink color microorganisms are indigenous organisms. But see, they are tired and sad because they have to they do want to consume the food. Okay, see, in bioremediation what happens is that we are using biological entity, that is our bacteria here. They will utilize these contaminants as their food source. Okay, so this is what happens. It is the default system of that bacteria that they use these materials, and that's why we are using them for the bioremediation purpose. Okay, so let's see this example again. These are pink and this green one organisms are indigenous organisms, and since they have some slower metabolic rate, you say, or since they are tired, they are now saying that they need some energy drink. So let's provide them some energy drinks here. Okay, so nutrients we have added, and now they are, see, very happy, and they are saying that they are gonna speed up their process now. So see here, comparatively from that first picture, in the third picture you see less contaminants. Okay, they have been utilized by bacteria. Now in fourth picture there is no contaminants present over here because they have been utilized by these bacteria. Okay, and they have made this environment clean. So now this is this whole story. Okay, so now we'll see what is bioaugmentation. So bioaugmentation is addition, that is augmenting, of endogenous or exogenous or GMOs, that is genetically modified organisms, to polluted hazardous waste sites in order to accelerate the removal of undesired compounds. So see, in bioaugmentation we are adding microorganisms here. In biostimulation what we did, we have added the nutrients to speed up the process. Okay, but in bioaugmentation we are adding microorganisms only. So what happens here, since we are adding microorganisms, it helps in increase in genetic diversity of the site. See, if there are more microorganisms, more utilization of those pollutants or those contaminants will happen. Let's see with the example. In bioremediation, remember one thing, in bioremediation those contaminants or pollutants will be utilized as their food source by the bacteria. So that's why we are using this bacteria, right? Because there is no harm to our nature, and also it is beneficial to us, that is it is beneficial to environment only. So let's see the example. In this box, these black dots represent the contaminants or pollutant. Okay, and pink and green colored microorganisms are some endogenous microorganisms. Now there is a lot of food over here. Okay, and now those bacteria are thinking they are being bored because they are only two, and now they want to welcome some friends to let have some fun. Okay, let's have some party. So let's add microorganisms, invite some microorganisms. In third picture you see they are having a great fun, and comparatively from the first picture they are being Less contaminants, that means they have been utilized very efficiently by the bacteria. Okay, now they are enjoying their party. See, this is the healthy environment. There is no contaminant over here because the contaminants or the pollutants being utilized. Okay, and this is the successful bioremediation. This is the whole story. Okay, this is bioaugmentation. Okay, so for today we'll conclude our lecture here only. For XC2 we'll see another lecture. So this is the reference link I am providing to you, from where I have referred this material for bioremediation, biostimulation and bioaugmentation. Yes, so thanks for watching and have fun.